some whiskey before starting.
I did some beer. It's lunch. Lunch. Okay, now is in. Okay, I think we are live now. Hi, Iker. How are
Woohoo!
you?
Hey, how are you doing, Mikel?
Uh,
Mikel!
yeah, Mikal. Yeah, it's the first time someone pronounced correctly my name. Finally, yeah.
Yeah, Mikel. How
Micalete
are you doing,
Campos.
man?
Yeah, yeah. I'm doing great. Just let me check a little bit the sound on the laptop to be sure that everybody's listening here. And oh, perfect. So it's on. The sound is great. So let's start. So please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey, your career as a rigger and TD artist or technical
Okay,
animator artist.
it's a long story. My name is Iker Iker de los Mozos. I'm naturally from Spain, born and raised in Spain, as you can tell from my thick Spanish accent. And I started with CG. I think it was in the 98 or 99 when a friend. It's a nice story because a friend of mine he just like gave me 10 floppy disks with a version of 3D Studio 4 for MS-DOS, and that was my first contact with
Yeah.
CG. That was amazing. Like install the 10 floppy disks. Of course, it wasn't legal. It was like, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We can talk about it now. It's been 20 years.
Yeah, no, it's I did exactly the same, and I do remember it cost me a lot of money, the 10 discs to give to a friend to copy.
Illegal money, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, because it was my pocket money from my I mean, I was like 40 maybe or something, so it was a lot of money for me, only the disc to get the.
Yeah, so my friend gave me this disc. In fact, like the crack for the software, we're getting in some legal issues here. But the
Oh yeah.
crack came with a virus that made your computer slower on Sundays. So that's how virus rolled. In the late 90s. I'm gonna make your computer slower on Sundays. So
Oh
anytime I just like install that, and I was hooked, man. It was like amazing. Like being able to do all these spheres and cubes and things on ZG. And it's funny because at that time there were a couple of magazines in Spain
oh
related to CG. Probably you remember there is one
yes,
called.
I do have.
Hmm?
Yeah, I still have some of the numbers at my
Oh,
parents'
that's so
house.
nice. There is one called 3D World that
Yes,
didn't have anything to do with the British or the American version of 3D
I
World.
know.
And there was another one called 3D Magazine, I believe, that, I remember like.
Yeah, I think one I remember was a very crappy paper, and the other one
Mhm.
was like
Yeah,
good paper. But
yeah, the good paper was 3D Magazine.
yeah,
So I remember those because my mom had a newsstand at the time. So that's how I discovered these
ah,
magazines.
nice.
And I think like my love for animation, like a lot of people that you've interviewed, like it started with like Jurassic Park. For me, that was like the big thing more than Toy Story. It was like Jurassic Park, like seeing all these big dinosaurs as a kid on the screen, and I was like, as any other kid, I was like in love with
Yeah,
dinosaurs. So I was like,
Jurassic Park
how?
is older
Yeah.
than it's older than Toy Story.
Yeah, I think Jurassic Park
Oh,
could be 93, if I'm not wrong. And I think Toy Story might be 95. I don't know. I'd rather be wrong than checking it on checking it on Google.
no,
So
it's
yeah, I
okay.
think it was 93 and 95, but I don't
Yeah,
know. But for me, it was Jurassic Park.
yeah.
Really.
Sorry for interrupt you. Sorry, please
Oh no,
continue.
don't worry, don't worry. And on 3D World, there were like these articles by Danny Martinez Lara,
Oh yeah,
who for me it was the man. Like he was the one, kind of like showing on these articles about animation and the principles of animation,
yeah.
showing that you could do these things that you saw in the movies, that you could do it at home, because he had like this character called Pepe
Yes,
that
I
were like
remember.
super simple but a lot of appealing. And then he had like these articles, like about, I don't know, but it was amazing. And to me, like I got the chance to meet him like years later, and to me, he's one of my biggest like influences without
Yeah,
any doubt.
yeah. I have the luck to attend to a few classes he did on his school in Barcelona, like
Uh-huh.
weekend workshop mainly. But
Yeah,
yeah, I was very lucky to go there.
it's amazing to me. Just
Yeah,
like even nowadays, he's like spearheading like a lot of like new things on Blender. So he's like
yeah,
one of the brilliant minds of on CG
yeah,
in Spain without like any doubt.
yeah. Very humble
So
also.
so after. after like being so much in love with this, like I wanted to study. I really like still like science and maths and stuff like that. I don't think I'm good at it, but I really liked it. So to me, when I just like graduated high school, I was about like, okay, do I want to go into physics and learn all this, or my other passion is like drawing? So I can try to study animation and CG animation and drawing. So as I was telling you before, I traveled with my parents to Barcelona. I'm from east of Spain, close to a town called Valencia, a city called Valencia. And Barcelona is like 300, 400 kilometers, like 200 miles north of that. So we went there, we visited an animation school that later you would teach in that animation school, right? It
Oh,
was
so
my,
you visit there before go to the university in Valencia?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Wow, I didn't know. Okay.
Because like they had like this, like I think it was like 2-3 year degree in animation. I think it was like a
Y- y-
two. I don't remember exactly how
Yeah,
it
I
was.
think it was 2 or 3 years. Yeah, I don't remember. I didn't. Yeah, I did teach on that once, but I don't remember. But it was really nice. Yeah, that you because you touch all these animation like styles, like from 2D to
Yeah,
stop
yeah,
motion.
yeah.
It was pretty complete. Yeah.
That's exactly what I wanted to do because like I saw that on magazines. I'm like, dude, Barcelona is the place to be. Wow, so cool. So we traveled there and then we went there and then we visited and it was super cool. But the problem is that uh, the classes were only like maybe like 2-3 hours a day, like 5 times a week, and the school like the workshops and stuff they were open like the whole day. But for
Yes.
me to be able to study there, I would
Yeah.
have to work probably as a waiter, as a server or something,
Yes.
to be able to pay for the rent and to be able to pay for the class. I think that school was like around 300 euros at a
Yeah.
time. So it's like,
Yeah.
let's say $300, something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
320,
I I
40.
I I I I remember that because I was teaching and I was always fighting that it's not enough hours. It's not enough hours, and it was
Yeah.
like a bit of an internal fight between the teachers and the directive to get more hours on the
Yeah.
classes. But yeah, that's another story.
I mean, it's nice if you have the time, because you have your classes and then you can spend the rest of the day in the school and talking with other students and stuff
Yes.
like that. But if I have to work like 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, I'm not going to make the most of what I'm paying. So I was like, okay. So I just like was a bit like kind of like, sad that I couldn't do that because it would be a waste of time, although I love what they were doing. But I just like happened to take a look at the resume of the teachers, and most of them they studied fine arts. So I'm like, okay, what is these fine art things? So I check it out, and it's like, yeah, fine arts. You learn how to draw, you learn how to paint, and then in Valencia, where I am from, they had like some subjects, some animation subjects. So I was like, okay, maybe this is my thing. I have to do fine arts and then study animation here, which is funny because like you enter in fine arts thinking that they are going to teach painting, they are going to teach you how to draw, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. It's not that they are going to teach you, it's that you are going to learn, which is a subtle difference, right? Like I remember
Uh,
having an argument with a drawing teacher, and he telling me that, like, you are not coming here for me to teach you. You are coming here to learn. You just work, you talk with your peers, you talk to me, and then you just learn by working. And that kind of like stuck with me, for the longest time. Like, okay, it's not me coming here, come on guys, teach me, I paid my dollars, come on, teach me.
yeah, yeah.
So that
They
was
provide
kind of
like
like,
the environment so
yeah,
that
yeah,
it's yeah. And
and it was a really good environment. I remember like visiting with a friend, before we chose which school we were going to go. My friend was going to study maths, and I was going to study fine arts at the end, right?
mhm.
So we went to his school, and it was like super big, super magnificent, like really nice space, big. And then we went to fine arts, and it was like stinky, it was dirty. People, I entered just in a couple of classes and people were dancing on the tables, and I'm like, what is this thing? But like it actually was like one of the best decisions I think I've taken, because it just what you say is the environment. um, Other schools, like people studying maths or studying law or something like that, you go to class, you listen to the teacher, you just like listen to him, then you have your just like take some notes or whatever, then you go home and then you are done. but the fine arts, it's more like kind of like a workshop
Yeah,
style.
yeah.
So
I
everyone,
think there, if
yeah, yeah,
I am I like there is a big difference between some careers like fine arts, or like if you want to be a lawyer or something, and it's like in some careers when you get the title, you know what I mean, and the
Mhm,
title is your
mhm.
work. I'm a lawyer, you know,
Yes.
and in fine arts, fine art, okay, but it's not important the title at the end. What is important is your body of work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
absolutely, absolutely. But one of my dreams when I was studying was like, to do my degree and then do the doctorate and be like a doctor in animation. And I was like dreaming about that, having like that small plaque on your door, Iker de
yeah,
los
that's
Mozos,
cool.
doctor in animation.
Yeah, call me doctor.
But it never
Doctor
happened. It never
Iker.
happened.
Wow, will be
Dr. Iker.
nice. Yeah, maybe there's some misunderstand later. Like doctor, and feel back then. No, I'm not that kind of doctor.
Yeah, and then he goes like, doctor, I have like some bone pain. I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
you
can
came
make
to
you
the right
clean.
place. Some rigging jokes.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh wow, yeah, that's a that's a rigging joke.
Yeah. Hey, first rigging joke ever.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah, so fine arts was really good. The thing is that I wasn't attending the classes as much as I should, because like at the same time I met a guy that when I just like enrolled in the school, the first day, the day of like enrolling, I
Mm-hmm.
met a guy, Jose Maria Lázaro
Mm-hmm.
Bayo, in the internet that he just like happened to talk to him, and he used 3D Studio as well, but he was using 3D Studio Max for Windows that was available then. I
Mm-hmm.
think that was like version 3.0. It was the year 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he just like talked to me. He gave me a copy, of the program, and I was like, "Hey, how much do I have to pay you?" And he's like, "No, dude, I have a CD burner. I can give you." I was like, "Oh yeah, hallelujah! Now I have a friend with a CD burner." So yeah,
Yeah.
that was amazing, because I was spending so much time in front of the computer. Just there was no really, I'm talking like an old guy, but there was no really information or
Yeah.
tutorials. Like there were
Yeah.
like forums like CG Talk. I remember like reading a lot on that,
Yeah.
like learning English, because I didn't speak English at the time. So
Yeah.
learning English was like the only way to kind of like get more information, right?
Yeah, but yeah, especially after the internet, and like in the 2000s was is like some information that you can get, and obviously right now it's a whole
Insane.
new level of information that you can get. But back then, even if you have like access to internet, it was not that easy to get that much information.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's amazing how like my washing machine breaks, and I can just like look online. I can diagnose what's the problem. I can
Oh,
know which pieces to order, and there are videos about how to fix it. So I can fix my washing machine without knowing anything about washing
yeah.
machines. So that's amazing.
And that's
That's amazing.
amazing that you can fix it actually, because many electrodomestics like computers and like freeze, I mean everything, it breaks and you have to change it. That's
Yeah, so that's cool. Again, like talking like an old guy. I'm not that old. But anyway, coming back to college. So yeah, I was like spending a lot of time in front of the computer at home. Like I remember days where it was just like me waking up in the morning, sitting in front of 3ds Max, doing my shitty characters, and then just realizing that it's 1 a.m. and having to go to bed. So
oh,
that was like a lot of days I spent like that. So of course, not going to class means that you don't pass the classes.
oh,
So I kind of like had to go several times over the same subjects like basic drawing and painting. And what happened is that down the line is that I didn't finish my degree, but I ended up working in an animation studio. Um, I did. It was a small animation studio in Valencia where they were doing like a small short. I think I can just like show a character. Maybe you are seeing the character right now in the
yeah.
center of my
I,
screen.
I I remember this character. Which studio was?
Yeah. This is a studio called Animatic Films. It changed names several times, and this studio they were doing like the short directed and designed by an Argentinian illustrator called Carlos Matera,
Mm-hmm.
MATT, and it was a really nice. It was a really cute, quick, cute short, cute characters. So what they decided to do is like to finance the short, to get money to be able to pay for the people working for the short. They decided to make a school, and that's something that we've seen, like in the recent years, like animation studios that they do classes on the side to kind of like support the production.
Yeah.
So they did that, and they contacted me through the internet through an internet forum, a Spanish 3D forum, to teach on that school. So back then, at the time, people were not interested in Spain. We are talking about the early 2000s, and people were not interested in characters or animation. People were interested in architectural visualization, right? Just like
Yes.
V-Ray. That's when V-Ray was starting, and Brazil, and a little later like Mental Ray. So everyone wanted to improve their renders, their buildings renders, so they can sell the promotion, like all the flats and all the apartments like faster. So I remember like having to learn about that to be able to teach it. So actually, it was an amazing experience, because I was just like searching all the forums about looking for V-Ray explanations, and reading the manual and doing tests at home, because there were like so many parameters, like what's this thing called irradiance map, or what is this thing called photons, and what happens if I put -3, -1 versus -4, -2. So just like understanding how all that worked, just like gave me the ability to be able to teach to people that wanted to improve their render quality. So that's what I started doing in this studio. I was like teaching the Saturdays, like 3 hours in the morning, then we go to lunch, and then 3 hours in the evening. And that's how I started in the CG. My CG career started there, just like teaching V-Ray.
Yeah, that's it's good that you didn't stay there, I guess, in the like architectural visualization stuff, because I remember early 2000s, and before the bubble in 2008 and so on, it was very good business, really really strong in Spain, and probably it must be very difficult to quit that was like a good, like, let's say money wise job to move to animation, to characters, back to the original goal, no? Because
well, my intention was always, my intention was never to work in CG. To me, like, CG was a hobby. I was like spending like a lot of time in it. That's what I always tell to people that are starting, like, to me, like, CG was kind of like playing guitar. I don't go and buy a guitar and ask the guy at the store, like, hey, which guitar do I have to buy if I want to play with the Rolling Stones in 2 weeks? Rolling Stones, no, Rolling Stones.
yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
but
like,
it'd be
yeah.
But
tell me.
No. I get it, the Rolling Stones thing. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's that, right? Like, to me, just like, I just like, play guitar, and then I just like get better for myself, and then I start joining some people, and then we start jamming, and eventually we play somewhere, and that's how you more or less start, just like your music or your guitar player career, right? So that's how I always like try to explain it. So to me, it was always like a hobby, and just like jobs came by accident, I guess, or by always, like many of the listeners, like many of us, like being in the right spot, in the right place at the same time, at the right time. Sorry.
Yeah.
So for me, that's how it was. And with these, like, I didn't want to end my days doing architectural visualization, but that was like a way to earn money and to support living in Valencia, in the city, by myself, doing CG. So it was nice, because then, like, after several courses, like one of the students that has a studio in your town, Ribarraja de Turia,
Oh yeah.
he hired me to
Oh
do
yeah.
some,
Me
like
before.
interior
Yeah.
renders and building renders and stuff. So being there, that's when I got a call from Ilion Animation Studios to work on Planet 51.
Yeah, that's amazing. I had to leave my town to get to work in big studios, and you have to came to my town to work in big studios. That's amazing.
No, I went to Ribarroja to, yeah, kind of like that, and then from there, I got a call in to Madrid to be in Madrid to work at Ilion, because what they were looking at in the rigging department was more like someone than someone experienced. They were looking for people with potential. So because I was like very active on forums, always trying to help, always also asking and showing the little things that I did. I just sent them my reel, and it's funny because they saw the reel and they told me, "Do you have something else? Do you have something more?" And I didn't know at the time if that was a good thing or a bad thing. Still, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Is this like, we are really interested in what you do and we want to see more of it, or this is pretty mediocre, like I'm gonna give you another opportunity type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I have this first reel here. I think at some point I shared it
Oh,
online.
first reels, amazing.
Yeah, I
That's
think I made this on 2005. So yeah, I'm gonna spare you the music. But I had to put. I don't know if you are seeing it, Mikael.
yeah.
Can,
We've seen here. Yeah,
it's
it's
so bad. It's so lame. But I got a call like, "Hey, we are looking for people. Do you have something that you can send us?" And I was like, "No, but let me put something together in 3 days." And I had like a crappy model that I was doing. I remember a thread on CG Talk talking about the Incredi-Girl, when the Incredibles
yeah.
the movies was released, and people were trying, "Hey, how do you think the rig was made?" And I was like doing things like that and showing that you can. And Snap FKIK, guys, there was a time where creating a Snap FKIK could land you a job.
Okay, Iker, just jump straight to the place where you showed your food roll.
No, there is no
Food
football.
roll, food roll.
There is no football on here, guys. This actually is based on some rigs that Charles Looker, Ick, on CG Talk, he was like, he's still so good. And he did like some simple rigs. And I just like, dude, I really love the stuff that he does. I'm going to do something like different, really, like by hand. And then I did like a crappy animation that looks like a dog that has been hit by a car or something. This is not a magnificent dinosaur. This is a crappy dinosaur. Kind of like to show that you could animate with it, right? And it's funny because Charles Looker, Peter, that he did that rig in Max, I don't remember the name, but like this guy here, and
Oh,
then Paul Neal. He is a guy that, man, I think like a lot of Max riggers owe a lot to him, because he released like these 3ds Max rigging uh, tutorials or DVDs, kind of like a basic and intermediate, and everyone was so into it that for the longest time, all the rigs in Max, they look exactly like Paul Neal's rigs, right? I mean, they were good rigs, but it was like, oh yeah, you saw. So when you received a reel on the company, like, oh yeah, you saw the DVDs too, good.
yeah.
So it was amazing. He was very very active on the forums back in the day, and he was like helping a lot of people. So
That's
that's how you
nice.
learn
And
stuff like
you
that,
put the
thinking
thank you
of the
to all the
people.
people on the reel. That's very nice.
Yeah, I'm that guy that always tries to give credit, right? Because like what goes around comes around, and like
Yeah,
if I worked on something, I'd rather say I worked on this and I did
uh,
this.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know.
For me was the Jason Schiffer, the
Yeah, Jason Slaver. Yeah,
yeah, the how was called the animator friendly rigging, and I
animator from.
watched that once, but I was using Softimage, so I was trying to replicate all the the stuff on Softimage. I was not using Maya back then, so I was not
Yeah, to
using.
me, to me, for Maya was one of the biggest of the best resources, even to this day. Like
Yeah,
the videos and
same.
the documents, the PDFs that he has with all the information. Like very detailed, very
Because
nice.
yeah, I remember he had the companion videos that he explained not only how to do it, but why is done what he does. That's very important. Not the
Yeah,
thing, but why is
the
done.
why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is
So
missed in many tutorials sometimes.
so this is the reel that kind of like landed me a job at Ilion. Well, I'm talking too much, too slow, so I'm gonna have to speed these things up. Okay, so at Ilion Animation Studios, it was nice because I worked on this movie, Planet 51. When I interviewed the studio, I don't know, I saw they had like 3 small promos or trailers that they were using at the time to kind of like show to people, and it was like nothing I've seen in Spain at the time. And I was like,
No,
In the I saw a lot of stuff,
yeah,
because I was
yeah,
in forums, I knew people, but this was like a different level, man. This was
yeah. That
like
movie was like
incredible.
yeah, but
Incredible.
back in the time was like amazing, like the
Yeah.
level that was never seen before in Spain for sure.
And it was done in 3ds Max as a main package, and when everyone else, I guess, like in the industry, use Maya
Mm,
and 3ds Max, like the level of customization, like the rigging system that they had, it was kind of like a different level. It was
yeah.
amazing. So after Ilion, I was there for almost 2 years. Then I jumped to another studio. The thing is that after I worked at Ilion, I decided to, it was a point of my career after doing rigging that I was like, okay, my intention was being an animator. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be an animator for the longest time, right? But I think I just like fell into rigging because it's kind of like a mix of the technical and the artistic, and I'm attracted as I told before, to science, physics, math, that type of stuff. Also, to me, like puppeteering is like very like real puppeteering, like felt toys and stuff. Even though I'm not good at it at all and I've never practiced, to me the idea of controlling a character, with your own hand, it's very
Yeah,
appealing.
yeah. I
And
know
I'm like,
you have
yeah.
something back, like sorry, for later, no, to show us on this.
Yes, I have something kind of like related to that. So it's funny how the thing that got me started in the rigging business, now I kind of like coming back to it. I'll show you a little bit later. So yeah, I jumped to to Candor because I was like, okay, do I want to keep working on rigging or do I want to jump in animation? If I keep working on rigging, I have to learn how to program, right? Because it's
Mm,
the only way. There is a lot of things that you need to automate, a lot of. So I was like, okay, let's do this, let's try this thing. So I just like um, just close myself in my room for like 3 months learning Max script, which was the language that you use in 3ds Max to script. And that's how I started doing my auto rig. That it's the one I'm not gonna play the reel, but it's like the reel that I have from 2010.
F
And this is all
free.
the system. Yeah.
Why F for free
F.
for you?
Oh, it's for can we curse on the it's for
Oh.
fucking rig builder.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something that production girls say, like, oh, you're already still working in your fucking rig, kind of like as a joke. Oh, fucking rig. And I was like, okay, F rig it is. So
Yeah,
so
that's the
that's why.
best ever. Yeah, yeah. I was about to joke about that without knowing it, but
Yeah.
yeah. So
So it
it's
was a nice thing, because I was like studying at work, at home, developing my own tools, and then I just moved to a smaller city in the south of Spain to be able to save some money, with the intention of putting together a reel and just like going outside of Spain to see how that was, right? Because when you're in Spain, you're like, I wonder how things are outside, and you
mhm.
always hear that things are better, and you're like, I want to, these like a mermaid songs, mermaid chants, and then you're
Oh
like, I
yeah.
want to go there.
Yeah.
So what happened is that this company was in the same city, and it turns out that they were using Character Studio in 3ds Max for their movie, these missing links that looks horrible. And they were using Character Studio with Biped, that is a rigging system that is very limited. So all the animators like were really, it was really hard to
Mm,
come up with nice animations because you couldn't use the graph editor because
yeah.
interpolation was quaternions. It was like some
Yeah.
weird stuff.
TCP
So
was called interpolation or
yeah, it was like tension, TCB, tension,
TCP.
continuity, and bias,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you had
Yeah.
like some numbers and stuff, and you couldn't really animate like animators were used to animate.
Yeah.
So I interviewed for the company. I told them, look, this is what I'm working on. I think you could use it, because it looks like your animators can benefit from that. I'm gonna keep working on this for a couple more months. If you have some room, you want to hire me? Hey, I'm all yours. So they couldn't hire me because they didn't have physical space. So when one of the animators left to come here to the States, actually they could hire me to kind of like occupy
Wow.
that desk. So it was nice, like I was getting paid to keep working on what I was doing at home for, I don't know, several months. So it was funny because everyone was finishing working the missing links and I was already working on this system. I was programming and stuff. So because I was like the available guy, like, okay, this guy is not doing anything reels. Okay, you are gonna help us on some shots or whatever. So that's how I got to work on this movie a little bit. So yeah, like that system was used in a short that we did called The Lady and the Reaper that was nominated for the Oscars. I think it was like
And
2010.
oh wow, that I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I remember it was like Goya. I think they won the
yeah,
Goya, no, that
Spanish,
year.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
And he was nominated for the Oscars, which was a blast. So the intention of the short film, the studio said like, okay, we have several months between the movie that we just finished, The Missing Links, and the other one that we are going to announce soon because we are just like finishing getting the money and all that stuff. So we have some months. Let's make a contest. Let's everyone pitch an idea. We choose an idea, like all of us, like all the
mm-hmm.
studio picks an idea, and then we are going to do that as a short film. And the intention with the short film was like improving our pipeline, improving our workflows, like improving our cloth system that didn't have anything,
Yeah,
didn't have any cloth, hair, rigging,
yeah,
render. We used mental ray, sorry, for The Lady and the Reaper.
yeah.
So it was like kind of like the studio to step up to be able to be ready for a better movie. So like the intention of the studio was always to keep the short in a drawer, right? This is like an internal thing. We're not going to send it anywhere. But we, the workers, we were seeing how it was. It looks, I think it looks pretty decent, and the story is nice, and so we start just like pressuring the boss in the studio to be able to send it to festivals and stuff like that. So they got like good response from festivals, and it just like kept rolling, and it just like got to the Oscar. So that
That's
was
great.
nice.
I
We
didn't know
didn't
that story.
get it, but
Yeah,
it was good.
yeah.
So yeah, you can say like my rigs were nominated for an Oscar, for a short film Oscar. So that was actually pretty cool. And then that was an interesting time because then the studio was working still in 3ds Max, and we decided that the package was not good enough for the quality that the studio wanted to provide, right? um, it's not good enough, but there were more people coming from other softwares, and there were some people from Softimage or Softimage. I don't really know how to pronounce it. How do you pronounce it, Michael?
I think it's Softimesh.
Softimage. Okay.
I think I was living in Montreal. I should know that, but
Okay. Softimage. Softimage.
Softimesh. I don't know.
Safety mesh. Okay, safety mesh. So the studio talked with several people that were, already in the industry, asking like, "Hey, what's the best way to go? Should we go to Maya or should we go to safety mesh?"
Yeah.
And apparently, like they got like the general feedback was that Maya is powerful, but you need a lot of like development to be able to cater to your needs. So like it's really powerful, but you need to invest a lot of time in developing things. While soft image, I'm gonna call it different times every time I name it.
Yeah.
But while the other program that we ended up using
Yeah.
was kind of like more like ready out of the box.
Yeah, exercise. We can say exercise.
XSI, there you go.
Yeah.
And we just ended up like moving the whole pipeline to XSI. Like the studio made me supervisor, being a one-man department, so I was like supervising myself. But they told me like, hey, like we can hire anyone you want. So we went for Cesar Saez, that he was rigging in Max, he was rigging in Softimesh,
Yeah.
and then we hired him from Chile. We brought him from Chile, and then he was one of the leaders of kind of like transitioning the whole studio to XSI, right? And he kind of like translated and improved
Yeah.
all the rigging system that I wrote, and that's how the movie could be made, because like he kind of like took the reins of the whole thing.
Nice.
So I was like supervising more kind of like people, but he was like more like managing, supervising
Yeah,
all the
but
all
you
the
didn't
process.
stay. No, that movie was the no, Candor is the name of the studio. Justin was the movie.
Yes, it's here. It's Justin and the Knights of Valor.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, no, because I was looking your images and it was later when it showed up. I was not sure if you
Yeah,
worked
because
there
the
or.
movie. Yeah, because the movie was released after I was in London, after I
So
left the company.
so
So
you left the company. I mean, you went straight
yes,
from Candor to London, no?
yes, because I was in this company. Candor Graphics was the name of the company, and my girlfriend at the time, she had a chance to study in London, with a scholarship.
Oh,
So we said, okay, if we don't go, we are going to regret.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go and let's see how life is outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just like made the reel that I just showed you, and I sent it to a lot of studios in London. I don't know, like maybe 50 studios, and I only got one call, which got me an interview, but was for video games, and I didn't have any experience on video games, so they decided to not go with me, which I completely understand. So yeah, so I just went to London with no job at all. We had some savings, but yeah, that was actually that was
That's
actually tough because
brave.
my girlfriend
Yeah.
at the time, she didn't work. So I was supposed to care for both of us, in the economic aspect, but I didn't have any job. So yeah, it was a couple of tough months. But eventually, I got a call from Nexus Productions, and they were doing commercials. They needed some people. It's funny because I just like changed my address on LinkedIn from Spain to London, and the day after, I got a mail from Nexus. So
Yeah, because maybe the people was thinking you're still in Spain.
I don't know. I mean, it's funny, like years later. I mean, I realized that when you are in London, for example, is a big hub for CG, and there is a lot of like houses that they do advertisement and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So they want people maybe for just like 1, 2, 3 weeks, right? So they are
Yeah.
not gonna bring someone from Spain for a
Yes.
2 week project. But if you are there already, you have more chances
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to get a job.
By the way, I'm looking at your screen. Yeah, I remember also this new Beetle. That was amazing. This spot. It's really
Yeah,
fun.
that was for the meal later. So that was like I left the company August. I left Candor August 2010. I remember telling the bosses like around like April that I was leaving, and around July they were like, "But you weren't leaving already? Come on, go, go!" And they were like, I'm like joking about that. I was like, "Dude, come on, I'm still here." So yeah, I went to London in August 2010, September 2010, and I started working on Nexus. And then like after 3 projects, they didn't have anything more. That's how commercials work. I guess like still works like that.
Yeah.
So they let me go, and just like a couple of weeks later, I landed a job at the mill. So that's how like commercials are in London, right? Like if you are there, like you starting to know people, and they can give you referrals like, hey, like I know they need a rigger and this studio for 2 months, or at this studio for 3 weeks. So that's how once you put your foot inside the wheel, inside that door, and then you're like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm not too bad. I don't cause a lot of trouble. So people start calling you for projects, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I never been in a hub like that, but I heard like from other friends that yeah, it's yeah, once you the most difficult is to get the foot in the door. Once
Yeah,
you get
definitely.
there, it's like you know people. Of course, if you're not like completely like asshole, it's
Definitely. And that's
it's
it,
it
right? Like
yeah.
I'm not I don't consider myself to be like super good like artistically and technically. I mean, I lack a lot of like I know my limitations, and I'm aware of my the quality that I can give. But to me, one of the things that have opened more doors to me is just like not causing trouble, like being nice, like especially when you're working in a production environment. I mean, this is something that people will be like, yeah, of course. But dude, we all have met people that I'm not going to give names, but they are like good artists, but they are like difficult to work with. And
Yeah.
when you're working on a team, you don't want those profiles, right? Like they are good at sitting
Yeah.
on their desk and freelancing maybe and sending you some drawings, and then hey, amazing, approved.
Yeah.
But when you have to deal with tight deadlines, when there are like several people working on the same asset at the same time, you
Yeah.
really need to
Yeah.
keep your ego at the
Yeah.
door and just like do the job.
Yeah, be a team worker. Like you cannot like for instance don't show up because you
Yeah,
hangover or stuff like that, or just
yeah,
or I had like experience that the people that just don't show up, and I after 2 days I call, hey, where are you okay? I'm like worried, no, oh no, I get another job, I'm sorry.
really.
And I was like, what?
Wow. Yeah,
Why
that's a
screw?
different level. Wow,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
that's a
yeah. So this is like, I mean, that was like completely like, what the hell? But it was like only 1 week to finish, and we are in the crunch time, and and of course you figure out how to. But of course, I'm not gonna recommend this person or uh,
yes,
work again
that's
with
it.
him, because anytime he's gonna he's gonna dump you. So And it was not
Yeah.
because it was a mad mood or anything. It was just he get something else. It was more convenient for him, and
Mhm.
not. But the worst thing is he didn't even worry to or bother to call or anything. Just didn't show up until you call and they say, "Oh yeah," and this is how the things are something like that. He said something like that, and I say, "Okay,
Yeah, no, no bueno, no bueno.
no,
So anyway, I spent at the mill, I think like maybe just like almost maybe 2 years or something close to that, I guess.
oh wow,
Yeah, a
that's
bit less than 2 years. Yeah, I think it was like a year and 7 months or something like that. So working in commercials, it was really nice, because like I was like commercials, they have a lot of like generalist people, because you never know the type of job that you're gonna get. Like
yes,
sometimes the company gets like character commercial, sometimes it's just like a
yeah,
car, sometimes it's like particles, sorry. Then after it's like a ribbon that needs to move over,
mm-hmm.
I don't know, whatever. So the more disciplines you are familiar with, the more chances you have to keep working in the studio, right? But I was just hired as a specialist, like character 2D, and I was lucky enough to just like daisy chain one project after another for almost 2 years. So I learned a lot. I learned how to deliver what the animators needed and super fast, just going to the essential. So that was actually really nice. And some of the projects I had a lot of fun, like like this one, the mill, like Muller. I just invite all of you to take a look at this. Actually, it's funny because on that project I ended up using gear, the version of XSI,
mm,
for one of the characters, for one horse that is on the commercial, which is like, it's insane. Commercial sometimes is like, dude, what is these people smoking? Like this creative, because you're like,
yeah,
yeah, more characters, rah, rah. And you're like, okay,
yeah,
dude, yeah, I'll do
yeah,
whatever you tell me to.
yeah.
So that was that was
I
that was fun.
Yeah, in commercials, the good thing is after all the suffering, after all the stress, you have a bunch of good stories to tell to friends. Like you can't believe what happened, and look,
Yeah,
yeah, you look like the most like I don't know, you have the most experience life of all of your friends because all the craziness that's going on.
totally. But like we were at the mill, we were treated like really well. And I think maybe in just like a couple of projects I had to just like work overtime. But and it
Oh,
was it was pretty it was pretty reasonable. Like the days, they were tight, but at the
yeah,
end of the day
that's
you can
nice.
deliver it. So that's cool.
Yeah.
The mill was also very interesting because they were using Softimage and Maya
Mm-hmm.
depending on the lead of the project. There were some
Oh.
leads that they
Mm,
were familiar with Softimage, and some others were more familiar with Maya. So depending on
yeah.
the lead, you could get
Yeah.
to work on one on another. I didn't have an experience on Maya at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Then I jumped on this project, like uh, we call it Patriots, which was like a commercial for a video game, but the commercial was never used at the end for several reasons. So actually, we used Maya on this, and that was my first Maya project. So it was nice, kind of like learning as you work, but also having to go home and then just like keep watching,
Yeah.
tutorials and reading and
Yeah.
trying to be able to,
Yeah. But
catch up
that,
the speed of everyone else.
yeah, I think that didn't change a lot for me. Indeed, I never catch up at the level of anyone. Just
Yeah,
trying,
I'm still
trailing
working on
behind.
So yeah, so the thing is that like it was really nice. It was really well paid. I was living in the center of London on a small apartment. I could walk to work just 7 minutes. It was
Oh,
amazing. It
wow.
was an amazing
Wow.
experience. It was super good.
That's a thing.
Um, but then I was missing the development times we had working in animation. You have weeks, sometimes months, to develop a new technology, to develop a new rig. Meanwhile, in commercials, it was like, hey, you have 2 days, and then you are off to another project, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like was missing that R&D component of it. So I started thinking about going back to animation or going back to movies specifically. So I was going to start working on a reel, just like to send it to Double Negative, Framestore, MPC, like companies that were already in London. And then I saw a job offer from Disney on the internet, and I'm like, shit, man, they are looking for people for right now, and I'm not gonna have time to craft like the reel that I want to. So I'm gonna send my old reel. So I just sent my old reel, and of course, you never think Disney is gonna call you, right? Because it's Disney. So a couple of weeks later, I got a mail back, and they're like, "Hey, the supervisors like your job. Why don't we have an interview?" And I was like, "Whoa, no fucking way! Oh my god!" The reel that didn't open me any door in London is actually the reel in 3ds Max that opened me the door for at
Is
least for an
is
interview
the
at
one that you
Disney.
showed before? No,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, 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 yeah. That's
no.
that's this one. Yeah, that's the reel that I sent
Oh,
to Disney, and
you
that's
didn't
the.
play it. You didn't play. You should play it.
Oh, okay. I'll talk on top. Dun, 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 dun. Uh,
Yeah, it was the
so
music
yeah, essentially,
clearly.
I'm just like showing the rig building, which is heavily influenced by what I'd learned at Ilion Animation Studios. With my personal touch. But yeah, essentially, like as any other auto rig, have some guide, build some solutions, and then just like showing. I think I might show the food roll here at some point.
Yes. Yeah, that's important. Let's start a new thread in Twitter about the food rolls.
Yeah, the food roll. I tell all my students, you don't do that, don't do that. But see, I think I did it at some point.
Everybody did it. Come on,
Yeah,
that's a must.
like
It's a must. You have to do it once and then never do it again.
I think it's because maybe, as far as I remember, for the longest time, a lot of tutorials on rigging, they started by, it always started, at least in 3ds Max, they always started doing the foot first. So I guess because it's something that it's kind of like, oh yeah, you have like a spinner and some value, and then you just like change it and something automatic happens. You are so proud of that you're like, oh my god, I have to show this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like no one cares anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's the way it is. Like no one cares if you do like a snap FKAK. I mean, it's something that it's
Yeah.
nice, but when everyone does it, you always need to think, what can I offer? This seems like kind of like a guru type of thing, or like, hey, but it's like, what can I offer that no one else is offering right now?
Yeah, I think, and then maybe we are like in a tangent here, but the for me, like the most interesting part is when right now, because all the rigs or the reels you can use, like or auto rig or the, I mean, you can do a really nice rig in terms of
Mhm.
features, but when it comes to the formation or to appealing the character, when you want to show like the full thing, not the,
Yes.
there is where I think it's more interesting for me when I see some reels that they have a really nice appealing characters.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I feel like there are like two different categories, maybe, or well, I mean, riggers. We are like a mix between technical and artistic,
Yeah.
and some riggers fall more on the technical side, and then you see riggers that are just like amazing. Like I remember seeing stuff from Chad. You talked to him just like a couple of weeks ago, and it was like amazing. Chad Vernon,
Yeah.
and then you see some artistic oriented reels with people modeling blend shapes, and you're like, oh my god, this facial reel looks amazing, and it's just like regular blend shapes. There is no super crazy technology behind it, but they look super appealing. So I think lately, like I'm steering towards more the artistic, kind of like being interested more in the artistic than in the technical. I mean, I keep up with the technical, but I never study programming. I never studied computer science, so I am a very non-orthodox programmer. So if you see my code, you're gonna laugh, but it's good. It works, I guess. So
Yeah.
so yeah. Anyway, this is the reel that landed me a job at.
Yeah, I remember that one. I remember the space switchers, and you had also the shot sculpting system. That, yeah, it's. I mean, you don't see that often, that thing.
Yeah, the scope
Even
system. Tell me,
today.
tell me.
Yeah, even
Yeah,
today, it's not like very common to see these kind of systems, and it's. I mean, it's used everywhere, but nobody like shows that. Look, with my system or with my rig, you can do that.
yeah. This was like that like sculpting things were just like putting two things together, two things that already shaped well. One, the sculpting brushes in 3ds Max, and I don't remember, it was Keys, maybe, a guy that released a Morph X2, which you could put on top in 3ds Max. You could put it at the top of the stack.
Oh.
So you could do like additive like morph, like blend shapes.
Hmm.
So that's nice because after all your animation, after all your skin cluster, you don't need to invert anything. It's just like you put it on top of everything, and then you can just like connect blend shapes there, corrective blend shapes, and it works. So I didn't know anything better at the time, so I just like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and I used it in production, for a couple of movies. So that was cool. So yeah, after UK, Disney.
Yeah.
So I just got the interview. Funny fact: the guy, Spanish rigger, working next to me at the mill. Couple of weeks later, that Disney contacted me. He asked me like, "Hey, do you mind if I send my stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man. Like, what's the worst thing can happen is that they don't hire any of us." So he sent his stuff. He got the interview as well, and we both got a position at Disney as character TDs. Luis San
Ah,
Juan.
uh,
So
yeah.
another Valencian, another rigger from Valencia.
Yeah, we are taking the wall of rigging. No, just
Yeah,
kidding.
so so that was interesting. We both were hired. He because of the visa paperwork, he came a little earlier than I did. So he got to work on Tekanim for Wreck-It Ralph. He landed on May 2012,
Mhm.
and I landed on Frozen 2 to do Frozen 2, no, Frozen Frozen 1 to do rigging on August 2012, and I've been at Disney ever since.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah,
Dude, the
we.
interview is almost over, and I'm just like, don't
Yeah.
stop talking.
No, it's cool, man. Don't worry. But
Okay.
yeah, that's very interesting, and yeah, it's very very cool to see how. I mean, you started from a place that you didn't had any like contact, anything, something that you want to do, and how you move it from one place to another, from one job to another, from one like thing that was closer to what you want to do to something that is closer and closer and closer, and finally you ended up working on Disney. That's very very nice, and yeah, it's very cool to see it's like full story, full picture how someone ends in a place like Disney, because probably it's one of the most appealing places to be nowadays in terms of character animation and well, in animation in general. I mean, Disney, come on.
Yeah, to me,
It's
it's just not the
yeah,
movies that we
yeah,
work with. It's all the legacy that the studio has,
yeah,
and everything is built on top of that. It's just like, I mean, what can I tell that you don't know already? It's a really nice place to work to.
yeah,
So that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I know you have like bagels. I heard there is a bagel one day a
Yeah, we
week.
have bagels on Friday.
Yeah.
We have a lot of stuff. We have bread. We have cereals. We have milk. We have everything. But that only looks it's nice because when you are not there, you're like, oh my god, they have like 8 types of cereal and gluten-free cereals too. Oh, and that's nice. But to me what I really appreciate and I really value is the day by day, right?
Yeah. No,
Like,
I was joking. Sorry for that. But
no, no, don't worry, don't worry. I'm just like being like corporative right now, and no, I'm kidding. But it's nice, just working tight, with the team. Not even, and this is something that I know is not nice to say, right? But at the end of the day, to me, it's not even about the movies that I get to work in. To me, it's about the day by day with the people that I work with.
mm,
It's about how I can share what I learn, or how can I, like help, or what I learn, or all these relationships that you create.
yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. I'm so
I,
lucky to work in a place, and I get to work with some people that I worked early in my career. Like, I'm working with people that I worked uh, 12 years ago at Ilion Animation
oh,
Studios,
that's
or with
nice.
some people that I got to work in Candor, like Sergi Caballero, for example, or Pilar was a TD that was at Disney too for some time, and now she's at Blue Sky, and like super nice people. So
Yeah, that's
people
nice.
that you meet, people that you kind of like
Yeah.
knew
The,
from before. That's
and
actually
yeah, and the industry is not that big, and especially it depends on where you work. But if you work like animation feature films, that's it's also smaller. Like because the I think probably VFX there is in terms of people working, it's more people than in feature
yeah,
films,
yeah, yeah.
and yeah, yeah, I feel the same. Like some people, I don't. It's relatively easy to cross paths with people.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I
It's
was just like a couple of days ago, I just went down to SIGGRAPH. I was walking on my own, and then just like saw two Spanish guys that I knew that they were around, and then we just like met more Spanish people, and it's people that from David Corral was around
yeah,
that you interviewed several weeks ago, and not only Spanish, but just like French people, Italian people, people that, of course, when I was in Europe, there was not a lot of like people from the US working there. I think things are changing a little bit, but there was not a lot of like industry, so people from the US, they didn't go to Europe to work, mostly because the industry was here in
Yeah.
California or Florida or Canada even.
Yeah.
And now things are switching a little bit. So it's funny, to see how like we met and we were all like single and stuff, and now we all have kids and losing hair, and
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah,
it's our fate.
directly proportional the amount of kids with the losing of hair, I think.
Yeah. That's why I don't have more kids, because I'm gonna
uh,
be super bold.
um, it's not that bad.
Are you
Now,
checking the chat? Does someone has like any questions so
yeah, if
far?
you have questions on the chat, yeah, please go ahead. I have one question, and it's more like I'm curious. Like the other day, I was watching this documentary about oh, I forgot what's his name. The this it's maybe it's a Norman. How is his? Uh,
Paranormal?
no. It's an animator from Disney, black guy. He was the first black person working at Disney. I
Oh
think
yeah.
one
I
of the
don't remember
first.
his name, but yeah,
And
yeah.
I saw the other day a Netflix documentary, like super nice, to see all his like trajectory, life story, and
Mhm.
how he's really humble person. I don't know if you ever has crossed paths with him, but yeah, it looks
No,
like
I haven't.
like
I
it's a
haven't.
very very sweet person. But the thing is, I always see these documentaries about Disney. Not I'm talking about the person, but the animation studio. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm curious. Like, do you work like everybody has this like a little office for himself or share with one other person, or do you work like more like I'm just like curious on that. Like, it's very silly question,
So
but
okay. The studio, like the animation studio that we work in today, like it was built in the early 90s, and like a couple of years ago they did like some remodeling, they did some construction work inside, because it was like very 90s architecture, right? So it was like very labyrinthic, like a lot of like narrow corridors, a lot of offices, not a lot of light. So they were like, dude, people, like, this is supposed to be a creative environment, and you cannot spend like half an hour trying to find someone's offices, especially
mm,
if you're new. So, I guess like as a gift to all the team, they just like remodeled the whole studio, and they just like made it more, I'm not gonna say like Pixar like, because Pixar, you have like this image of this like big atrium,
mm-hmm,
that you have like these tables and stuff where you can just like, the idea I think behind it is that you can cross paths with people that you normally don't talk to,
mm-hmm,
so new ideas and new relationships can spark. So they kind of like, when John Lasseter and Ed Catmull kind of like came to Disney Animation as a things like chief creative officer and president, I guess. They
mm-hmm,
wanted to bring that kind of like Pixar type of spirit, like openness, and like bring the light literally inside the studio. So they did some remodeling. So when that was happening, they split the team in several locations, and most of Zootopia and Moana were done in a small, not in a small, in a big warehouse next to the Burbank airport, and that was a completely like open space,
mm-hmm.
right? Like, so it was like they just like condition it, like put a lot of desks and stuff, and that was like super open space. It was some interesting times, but now it's there. You have like offices, you have cubicles, um, so it's a mix of like offices and cubicles. Now I'm super lucky because I have a window. I'm sitting with like two other super nice guys, John and Garrett, and it's nice. And yeah, we are sharing offices. There are like some people sitting in one person offices, two people, three people, several people, and then like if you want more cubicle, more cubicles, more privacy, then you can request a cubicle. And there are some spaces where people are in cubicles and stuff.
Oh, I see. So it's you can also request like, oh look, I need more focus, or
Yeah,
for
yeah,
my work I prefer not to let the serendipity get
yeah,
his way to my
yeah.
my creativity. Yeah, that's nice. It's actually also it's very flexible. Cool.
Yeah, in fact, there were like
I
some complaints when we were in this warehouse in Tuhunga.
mm-hmm,
That was the name of the street. Where some people complain, of course, because like there was like some spontaneous Nerf
mm.
Gans wars. Everyone is working, and then
No nerf.
like chaos and madness. And I
Nerf
think
is
at some point
dangerous.
they had to kind of like tell the guys like, hey, just like tone it down, because
Yeah,
it's people want to work and
yeah,
stuff. But it was a
yeah,
super nice environment. It was super nice.
yeah,
It was super free,
yeah,
super open.
yeah. I'm yeah. I'm very like it's something that in terms of productivity and focus, because the job that we do, we need this serendipity, this like spontaneous connections with other people and talk
Mhm.
and find, of course, also to meet people, to meet your coworkers that you normally don't
Yeah.
know if you don't share space. But that is also like it has a like a dark side for me, like when you need to focus, when you need silence, when you need like more I don't know what to say, like yeah, like focus.
Yeah, concentration, right?
Yeah.
Like it's funny, but yeah, I think like the studio, like in the like uh, as they have been doing, how I put it in words, they have been like doing more. Um, Man, I don't know, hacer más hincapié, like kind of
uh
like putting more effort in people to
yeah, put more
like
effort,
for
yeah,
people
will
to put
be,
more effort in communicate, right?
yeah,
Thank you. Putting more effort in people to communicate, because like you are working on a production environment, right? And you are working on a character, on a model that comes from someone else, and then you're gonna send it, and then it's gonna get back to you, and then you have to communicate. And
yeah,
that's like one of the important things that maybe people take for granted, or people don't really work on developing, because we are also so focused on our craft and our technical skills that we sometimes don't communicate properly, and then you assume that people can read your mind, and that leads to misunderstandings and stuff like
yeah,
that. So the
yeah,
studio has been like putting tools, like I don't know, like going from mails. Now we use Slack a lot, because that way you can track all the conversations and stuff like that. So just like they encourage, yes, that's a word, they encourage for like people to communicate more, to
yeah,
know the team,
yeah,
not only your rigging team, but know
yeah,
your modeler, know
yeah,
your animator. And I'm not talking about just like be friends, but just like develop a relationship, because
yeah,
that
yeah,
will always make things easier,
yeah.
so
There is one thing here in Japan I heard, not in my studio, but in bigger companies here in Japan, they have a budget to allow the people to have a dinner with other people from other department.
oh
So you, but there looks like the rule is you cannot go with your department. You need to go with people from other department that you normally don't have relations. So the company pay like 50% of the cost of the dinner or the drinks,
that's
or
good, that's nice.
it's something. It's very. I mean I didn't work in any company like that, but it's nice. Like, okay, so you want to meet your colleagues? Okay, I gonna allow you to do it, but you know,
At Disney, there were some initiatives like that, especially between like rigging and animation, for example, because like we are in constant conversation. So there are like the rigging team. I think like character TDs at the studio. I don't know the exact numbers, but we could be around like 50. Like at Disney,
50,
we split the character
50,
TDs,
no,
50 character
my
TDs,
God,
and then
that's a
yeah,
lot.
I think, or maybe 40, but it's like a big number, right?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
huge number, because they split the numbers between, they split the department between like rigging, sim setup, and then tech anim, right? So rigging, we all know what rigging is. The
mm-hmm.
rigging buddies, hey, listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Then you have like sim setup, which they do the rigs for hair and for cloth and
Oh,
all that stuff. And then tech anim is what comes after animation. So you install these rigs, you press the button, you set the parameters, you simulate, and then you have, congratulations, you have 50% of the shot. Now it's adjust the
shot scout.
parameters, sculpt a lot.
Yeah.
There is a heavy artistic direction in the studio in Tekanim,
Oh yeah.
and it could well be the only studio that scrutinize that work so much. I guess again for the legacy, like in Zootopia, I remember like seeing 2D test on how like the overlap on the sleeves and stuff like that, and the team had to match that
Yeah.
because that was the style of the movie. So it's
Yeah.
it's it's a lot of like manual
Yeah.
labor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the biggest part of the department is tech anim.
Yeah. And
Uh,
by the way, Sergi and Cesar is in the chat. Hey guys.
hey, how are you doing,
Yeah.
guys? I
And I,
cannot
I
hear
saw
you.
Alex before
Hey,
also. It's all the friends. all
cool,
all
cool,
the,
cool.
how you say in English, the homies.
The homies, the
Yeah.
bros.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sebastian and Cesar.
Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool.
Sorry. Yeah, but I got you. But yeah, the about Tekanim, I did in my previous studio at Marsa. I had the
Hmm.
chance to work like in Tekanim, like for a few months,
Uh huh.
and it's I mean, it's really cool. I mean, I really like it because you have the opportunity to go like these dailies that we was talking before the stream, and
Mhm, mhm.
to 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 have direct feedback many times from or the director or the animation supervisor or other people that you normally don't have. Well, maybe animation supervisor I do have feedback for the rigs, but some other people that you don't have usually this feedback, and it's more closer to the final pipeline process. So I
Yeah, it is. It is. You are working at the end of the day. You are working when you do a tech anim. You are just like deciding exactly how things are going to look on the screen. But I'm gonna tie this with something that you said before, right? Like when you work, when you do a rig, especially if you are like developing something, if you are a lead of a process or something, you need some kind of like concentration, right? So, and you are like very. It's a very like solitary, very like individual, more than solitary. It's a very lonely. It's a very individual work, right? Uh, you don't really look at the risks of the other people in the team. We try that to happen, but it's more like a lonely thing. In Tekanim, your work is constantly scrutinized and constantly exposed to comments. You have dailies, you have weeklies, you have rounds, you have a lot of stuff. So the first time I did Tekanim was on Big Hero 6, here right on the upper right corner. Here, like, hey, Big Hero 6. And that was tough. That was tough because I wasn't in the right mindset. My mindset was telling the supervisor, like, hey, I just like press the simulation, the simulation button. It works, it behaves like realistic as you would expect this cloth with these parameters to behave. What else do you want? I mean, this is it. And then, like it wasn't like that. I was super naive. So, I got to talk with a lot of people that have way more experience than I did. And I learned a lot from them because Tekanim to me is nice in the sense that everyone does it differently. It's like animators, right? Every animator animates differently. And to be able to learn from each person, sorry, in the team, like how they solve a specific problem. Like, like if I want some more overlap on the head of a character, some people will be like, oh yeah, you just like lower the gravity and then change the space solver or whatever. Some other people will be like, oh, just like animate a wind for like a couple of frames, and then that will help you to get that overlap. I'm like, oh, interesting. So you see how like people tend to like different or a specific set of tools.
Yeah.
And then, it, to me, was about learning. And one thing that I really learned about doing tech anime was like developing my artistic eye.
Yeah.
To me, this is kind of like coming back to fine arts. So normally the way I was explaining what I was doing is like, I'm going to do what the teacher wants me to do. I'm not really doing what I want to do because the teacher likes things a specific way and I don't have the ability to sell my work. For example, I remember a colleague in college, we were supposed to paint, like these jars and vases and stuff like that, like kind of like it's like naturaleza muerta. I think it's like still life, stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know in English that
with
one.
with oil painting. And I don't know, my friend was like putting like cookies on the canvas and like doing some like psychedelic stuff, and the teacher loved it. But not because it was what the teacher wanted, it was because my friend had the ability to sell that idea to the teacher. I didn't. So, I had to do what the teacher wanted me to do. If I don't do that, then I don't pass the subject. So tech anim, at the beginning, I was doing what the supervisor wanted me to do without understanding why. But as you keep doing it, as you keep facing that problem and trying to solve it, then little by little, like the pieces start, to just like fit. And then you are like, okay, they are asking this because this and composition and, layout and continuity and things that I wasn't able to see at the time. Now it's the same thing that when I do a rig at the studio and then I send it to the animators, like, of course you're going to get notes because that's how we work at the studio. We send something like an early pass, we get notes, and we send, and we get more notes. And that's how we build that character. And at the beginning you are like, oh my God, like, what is this guy telling me this? But then as you learn, as you get better, as you develop your eye, then you are able to see the reasons and to see why and to see things before you are told, right? Like to detect errors or things that can improve or things that doesn't necessarily work the way that the studio needs to work, right? Like, for example, like, I don't know, I cannot draw here, but they do like a very specific thing at the studio with the mouths that when a character opens a mouth, if you see it from a frontal view, they have like a football shape, right? Like a rugby
Mm-hmm.
football shape. It's not a circle. And if you look at the mirror, you're like, well, it's a little bit, but my mouth is more like a circle. But there are reasons beyond that. The reason is like, so the animators, when they pull the mouth corners, then they can keep that kind of like sharpened line, and it's more graphic, and it works better when you combine several expressions. So at the beginning, you don't know. So you just like take it for granted, like, okay, I'll do it that way because that's what I'm told to. But, to me, discovering things and learning things, to me, that's the nice thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's. I mean, that's how it's like learning experience is about that. It's about to to try something, to fail, to try, to fail, to try until you get. And of course, if you have feedback and you have a super good feedback, like I guess you will have at Disney, it's the learning. It's gonna be much better. And I
Yeah.
mean, because you have the better like feedback that you can get anywhere, and that's the best. So
And all those things that I could learn on Big Hero 6, then I worked on Inner Workings, like a short. I think it was in front of, I don't remember if it was Utopia or Moana. I want to say Zootopia, maybe. And I did some rigging and some Tekanim on that. And everything that I learned on about the visual and the composition and the sculpt and shape and form and silhouette. On Big Hero, I could apply to Inner Workings, and then I also did rigging and Tekanim on Moana. Inner Workings and Moana, they were like a lot of like sculpt, especially because in Moana people are like kind of like half naked, so it's a lot of like shoulders and wrists and arms. So I enjoyed a lot, because I really like sculpting. It's almost like doing stop motion, man. Just like you go
yeah,
on a frame,
yeah,
sculpt, go to the other,
yeah,
sculpt until it looks exactly the way you want. It's time
yeah. No,
consuming.
I've been there. I don't do it anymore, sadly. But I will don't mind to go back and do some like shot work like this. So a lot of you saying like and going maybe a bit to more technical stuff that I think some people here on the streaming or maybe later watching it on the record version will be interesting. It's on technical side, like for instance in Moana, the so you tell him that also the tech anime it's like shot sculpting, so you go a lot on the like shoulders and all the parts that
Yes.
maybe the rig doesn't reach all the positions, and you go and make it looks perfect and beautiful by going per shot, let's say.
Yes,
Is
there is always like shot sculpting. So for Maui, for example, the supervisor developed like several things. Maui, I believe he has like a muscle rig, but I think we use that muscle rig to bake shapes. I think there was some sort of like internal tool that was developed for Maui's tattoos to kind of like almost like a relax type of thing that we could run like post animation, so the tattoos don't stretch as much. But all these things they are reached to a point, and then there is a lot of like love manual labor of love.
yeah,
And it's not only that the rig doesn't reach, like sometimes the animators, they have to cheat because animators animate to camera.
yes,
And there is a lot of cheating, and then something that the animator did for the shot maybe doesn't necessarily work for the simulation. So you need to make sure that everything is simulation compatible, and then you sculpt on top of that. So yeah, there's a lot of work post animation, a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, and the yeah, for instance, for question on the rig, and like do you finish ever the iteration with the rig, or you keep pushing versions over versions while it's animating? So do you have a close thing that say, okay, this is close, we don't touch it, the rest of the project is gonna go with this one, or you keep like brushing up everything?
I think the studio aims to have like an animation ready rig, an animation ready date, where like you keep working with the supervisors of rigging and animation, like what the rig needs. If it's a main character, for example, on Pua, we iterated a lot, and we added things even at the last moment, like some clusters and shapers, so the animator could just like better control the silhouette without sculpting on the shots,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like as a general silhouette type of thing. Yeah, there are like sometimes, like there are like bits for this character is like, I don't know, like 90 days or 60 days or whatever, sometimes more, sometimes less. But then you keep iterating, right? Like we one thing that I think Ed Catmull said on his book, and that's kind of like the one of the slogans that we use in the department, is like show early and show often, and that's very important. So that's what we do when we receive the mesh, from the modeling department. We do like a quick rig turnaround, body and face, and then we send it to animation. Hopefully they can play with it. We can get notes, and for example, like normally the way I work is like I do the body, then I send the rig to animators. They look at it. They have some notes. At the same time, I'm working on the face, and then by the time I have the notes on the body, I send the face so they can take a look at it. So kind of like we work like this, kind of like coordinated, and then just like keep working and polishing and going from the more general to like really minute and super fine stuff. Like for example, like characters like Elsa and Anna and Frozen, they are more scrutinized than, for example, Pua or a secondary character in a movie, because of course they are going to be in the screen for an hour and almost a half on every shot.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
they
that's
need to have that level of detail. And even when the characters are approved, sometimes things can come, and just like fix or improve, or maybe the artistic direction was adjusted and then we need to change a couple of things. So it happens. It happens all the time.
And can you talk a little bit about the process of how you work the rigs, or it's something, maybe I don't know if I can ask this kind of question. I don't know how secretive
You can
it's.
ask. I
You
cannot
can.
answer.
Yeah,
You can ask.
of
No,
course. But
essentially,
it's,
like,
yeah.
yeah. Tell me.
No. Like I'm just curious. Like for instance, the like how it, I guess, I mean, must be not that different from other rigs. I mean, everything, it's not like, I mean, you still using, I mean, you using Maya, you
Yeah,
using the
we're using Maya.
standard like tools that it's available for other people, so it's not like a super secret technology behind, I guess. But in terms of like the rig, it's like, for instance, how long it take to make one of these hero characters, like the rigs, or can you?
Yeah. So kind of like the way we build characters, we use like an internal tool called D rig. I guess the D is like from Disney, right? It's not F rig, it's D rig.
The
It's a couple of
rig.
letters before.
Yeah.
Damn rig. So essentially, it just like lists all the steps that you need to build a character. It just like everything is coded in Python. I think there are like some kind of like still like some blocks in Mel because like it's like a legacy thing, but it's everything is coded in Python. So it's like clean the scene, bring my joints, then load the positions of the joint, bring some curves, load the positions of the curves, bring the mesh, start building all the chains. So it's an auto rig, like many auto rigs that you've seen. I mean, it's more complex because like the level of detail it's higher, so it has like a lot of like small deformers and stuff. But at the end of the day, I think it's like not so much different from what you can do at home, right? Like there is a layer of skin cluster, there is a layer of wires and clusters, and then the cherry on top, a lot of drive-in keys, and then the cherry on top is like the PSDs, right? To just like have artistic control over the final pose or the final expression, on top of all the deformers. So yeah, the way I work normally is like we have all this archetype, right? The biped, and then we all start with that. We bring the skeleton, which is like a pure hierarchy of joints, and then we just like position to a character, save those positions, and then I bring the default curves, I fit them on the character, and then I export, and then like I weight the character. We tend to use the same mesh when possible. Zootopia, for example, it wasn't possible, but something like Moana or something like Frozen, all the characters use like a universal mesh that stem from this biped character. So we recycle a lot of stuff. Like this biped character has a lot of like maps already painted and stuff that we are bringing to our character and adjusting as needed. I was working on a character like for a couple of weeks for a short one-off, and I spent like less than 2 weeks doing body and face, and it was like a one-off. So it was like everything starting from scratch. So of course it's a 2-week rig. It doesn't look like a a year and a half rig that has been working and working and working. But like we can turn around something really quick, really fast.
Yeah, so
uh,
it's about the needs of each character, each project. So
yes, yes.
so yeah, of course, that makes absolutely sense. It's not the same like you said before. Like one character is gonna be shown for one shot or in the background, and one hero character, and obviously all that is in between.
So is
Can be
that kind of
varying.
like 80-20 rule, right? Like you spend 20% of the time doing 80% of the job, and then or the task, and then you spend 80% of the time that you have doing that last 20%, which is
Yeah,
like all the details and stuff, which is like more time consuming.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. It's also the 80% that mark the difference.
yeah, so it's not like I remember before coming to a big company, like, oh my god, at DreamWorks they have like 3 months for a character. At Disney they have a year, but it's not like, hey, there you have your character. See you in a year.
Mm,
It's not like that. You do something, then you send it, then you work on something else, then
yeah,
it comes back. So
yeah,
it's like that. So you are not a
yeah.
year in your computer like, yeah,
No,
I'm
it's
working
about the
2 months smoking outside.
but I guess it's about the iteration, no? That
Yeah,
that always
it's
come
yeah,
iteration. It's
yeah,
king.
yeah.
It's like I think was uh yeah, it's like I don't know where I heard that, but yeah, to fail fast, and also yeah, to make a lot of iterations. And
Yeah, yeah.
also Brad
Fail
from
fast, yeah,
Rigging
fail
Dojo was
early,
saying
stuff
I
like that.
fail fearless also.
Yeah, it's like that, and things not always work uh, perfectly, right? So you spend a lot of time why it doesn't work, and yesterday it worked, or why this thing works for my peer but not for me. So the good thing is that we are in constant touch. If something is broken, then everyone is aware. Like the supervisors are doing like a really, really, really good job at keeping everyone on the same page. So even though it's still kind of like a lonely thing because you're working on your character, there is more awareness of what everyone else is doing. And I love to learn how everyone else works, right? Because I said that animators, each one, they animate in a different way. So do tech anim artists and even riggers. We use the same tools. The rig at the end, it's almost the same, but some people have small tricks that carry from other experiences. So I really like to learn that from
Yeah.
them. So the supervisors do a really good work on breaking those walls, and everyone is aware of everything. I love that.
So you basically now doing like a depend of the time of the season. You're making like rigs, and then you jump to tech anim and back to rigs. And
Yeah,
how
it's
you navigate
not.
nowadays
That's
the
interesting because I think like depending on the needs of the production, and I remember at the beginning they wanted more like kind of like specific profiles, like you are going to do only rigging or you are going to do only tecanim. But now they really, it's almost like when I was working in commercials, right? Because you would never know when there's going to be a need for a specific thing. If you know how to do rig and know how to do a little sim, and then know how to do tecanim, then you increase your castability, right?
that's
Um,
interesting.
Kind of like that. But then like I feel more comfortable doing rigging. I don't really enjoy simulation, and this is something that everyone is aware, because I like that what you see is what you get type of
Yeah,
thing on the
yeah,
screen.
I agree with that. I don't like simulation, but I do like a lot the
The
fix.
sculpting, the
Yeah,
tecanim.
this. Yeah, exactly. So, and I really enjoy to the point that in like I was saying in previous studio in Mars, I was offering some colleagues that you do the simulation, you give me the shot sculpting to me. I so
Yeah. I mean, I got to work on a couple of shorts that have not been released yet inside the studio, and on one of them, I was just like doing, I did the rigs, it's just like a small thing. I did like the rig for two characters, and then I'm doing the Tekanim on my own, and I'm enjoying it because it's like all sculpting. There's like some sim, but it's nice being able to use all these
yeah,
tools,
yeah,
without. Also, I guess like people don't really enjoy Tekanim because like it comes at the end of the movie, right? And then there is a lot of like crunch, a lot of like overtime,
oh
so
yeah,
you don't don't enjoy it as much as you could if you didn't have this like, hey, we need to
yeah,
deliver this, right? Like there is not that much possibility of like testing things or trying things, right? So
Yeah.
I guess there
Well,
is a big component on
yeah,
that.
one of the things I missed from my previous company, I don't know if you have something similar there, is like for when we did the simulation, we had like like a tool called, I think it was Magix, and basically what you'd send is to the farm, like instead of one simulation, we sent like a range of simulation with a
Mhm.
range of parameters.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
send like 10 takes at the same time, and then we check the previews and say, okay, this is the closest one I want, and you so you kind of like limit, like I don't know how to say this, like
Yeah, it's more like a,
you
yeah, you want to.
batch a lot of like takes, and then you start to limit the ranges for the test until you get something closer.
Yes, that's how some people work. They call it at the studio. They call it wedge, WEDGE, wedge or wedging. So is that kind of like the what you want to get, and then the ballpark, and then just like send some simulations with similar parameters or different parameters to the farm, and then you just like start take one, and then you start just like working from that. So yeah, like they encourage working like that. I have to confess, I never was I'm not a simulation heavy person. I was told that I jump really quick to sculpting because that's my comfort zone. But that's what I consider I'm better at,
Yeah.
right? So, sometimes maybe my shots, they don't look as nice, a cloth doesn't look as nice or natural as some other people that are more simulation oriented. So I was like, and in Moana, for example, I was like typecasted, and they were giving me a lot of like typecasted. They were giving me a lot of like sculpting shots because I could them super fast. I could deliver what the
Yeah.
team need, and that's what I enjoy. So I know simulation is not my thing.
Uh,
Not my
yeah,
thing.
but I think I'm in your team. I completely
Yay,
agree with
go.
that.
Go.
Yeah.
Do we have more questions or?
Yeah, I was about to say that we have few questions, and also we run over one 1 hour
Almost
and
the
a
time.
half. I'm worried for you because I see your
Oh, no,
time on
I'm good.
your.
I'm
It's
good. I
almost
drank
1
coffee,
a.m.
so I'm fine.
So
I'm
we
all
have a
good.
few questions from the chat. Okay, we have one from Cesar, and um, we have okay, let me, I don't want to skip anybody, but okay, so like communication, how closely we, okay, so from Jared, speaking of
Okay.
communication, how closely do you work with modeling for blend shapes? I guess with modeling team.
So that's an interesting question because when I arrived at the studio for Frozen, modeling was doing a lot of the PSD, right? For the body and the face. That was on Ralph and that was on Frozen as well. So we just like create the poses using our tools. And then we just like send those as an OBJ. They open ZBrush, do their things, and then it comes back. Then we clean or adjust, because like blend shapes is about volume and form, but also about movement. So if I do the blend shape, maybe I'm not the best modeler, but I can just like plug it in my rig and see how it flows from the default pose
Yes.
to this pose to this pose to this pose. If I have like three poses, for example, right? Like the arm, like the elbow, like straight, 45, 90, and 120. So modeling used to take care of those. And as the years went through, we started like the rigging department started like authoring those,
Yeah.
probably because that, and
Yeah.
I think on Big Hero maybe we started on the rigging department, we started doing like some body shapes, and then as the years went through, now we are doing all the blend shapes
Yeah.
for rigging.
Yeah. I feel like the same.
Mhm.
On that. I prefer to do it myself because again, I'm not by any means a good modeler or anything, but at the end of the day, I find easier to get better results doing it myself because you can test it on the rig. You take care not only
Yeah.
the appealing part that you could, but also the technical side, that how move,
Yes,
and something,
especially.
yeah.
especially because of that thing that you are able to plug it as you go. You sculpt, plug it. Okay, it doesn't work as I want. Then you just like adjust, plug it again. And let's be honest. It's the least boring part of making a rig. It's not technical. You can just relax. It's just like about moving vertices and stuff. We still have the option to to talk with the modelers and just like send stuff to them. And I know some people in the department they keep doing that, right? Like the collaboration is encouraged, but as is ownership too, right? Like people want to feel like they own the work that they are doing. So on that sense, like I've been getting better and better at modeling. I'm not at a level where I'm comfortable with what I do at all, but I can see how working on these things made me,
Mm.
appreciate other things like again like forms, silhouettes, like a lot of stuff that I don't have any idea what I'm doing. But I can see, okay, it kind of like works. Especially for example for the body, no one is gonna ever see them because the characters have cloth on them.
Mm.
Have like a shirt or whatever. So at the end of the day, no one
Mm.
cares now. It doesn't matter. But on the face, like I we spend most of the time working on the rigs, working on the face, and working on the shapes. And the brows down and the brows up and the brows up and the inners down and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The combinations, all the stuff. And we do a lot of iteration with animation. So yeah, that's kind of like how it's been these last years.
Thank you. Okay, let's jump to the next question. For like TV motion pictures, how does training for those artists who when entering Disney Studios? How so? I guess is Disney doing some training for the artists when you get there?
There is a lot of there's a big library of like videos that like normally like they do like a lot of classes all the weeks, about like everything that you can imagine related to CG, or not necessarily, right? Like talks. So they record everything, and there is a program where you can access all that. So you can see all these recorded classes from just like very long time ago till last week, and yeah, so that's kind of like your training, right? When you start at a studio, that's like, hey, there are some documents, there are some videos, you can talk to people. Sometimes they do like some classes too, if the time allows it. If everyone is working crazy in production, the chances of getting a class, it's like harder. But Disney has like this really interesting position, which is a program called talent development,
Oh
which
yeah,
yes,
I
if
heard about that.
you are just recently graduated, like I think it's like 3 years or less, then you can enter this program. Excuse me, where it's a 1 year program. So you enter and then you are taught like people in the studio, and this is not only happening on character 2D, but like modeling and look
Hmm.
development and
It's
animation
like
and
an
2Ds. So yeah,
internship,
you
kind of an
enter.
internship, and I heard some people they get some people stay after the internship. No, this
Yes,
way.
so it's kind of like an internship, but like during the first 3 months, you don't have any work, but learning, right? That's your job. Your job is learning. So you're exposed to a lot of different classes, which is nice. And then you are getting paid too. And the rates, you can see them on the Animation Guild website. All the numbers, all the salaries are public. Everything is there. So you are curious, just like
Oh,
check it out. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna check how
money,
much. How
money,
much?
money. Not bad, not bad. Um, Not bad if you are single. Anyway,
Oof.
so yeah, you are during the first 3 months, and you do that. Then you have an evaluation, 3 months, 6 months, and after a year. And I believe it's after 6 months where you get to jump to production. I don't know if it's after the first three or the first six. I think it depends.
Mm.
But then you get to work on the movie. And then if there are positions afterwards and no visa issues or anything like that, then like a lot of people supervising in the studio, they started on this program, talent development, not so many years ago. So
Yeah,
I think that that's
that's
amazing.
yeah, it's really nice. Here in it's not the same, but here in Japan there is also uh, like tradition that some people fresh from the school they get his first job on the studio or another like kind of business, no, and they they well, some people that get this job at the beginning of his career, it retire on the same company here in Japan.
Yeah, it's I
And yeah, and it's these first years that the people is get trained. So the company doesn't expect you
Oh,
are full-fledged professional when you arrive, you know.
yeah, it's not
But
like that in Spain, right? You get an internship and then you're supposed to do the job of three
no,
people
it's the other way
that
around.
getting paid.
You know how
They're
to do
getting,
the job, and you get an internship for 3 years or four until
yeah, being an
so
intern.
they don't
They're
have
like,
to pay you ever.
oh, Spain, yeah, don't get
Yeah.
us started on that.
No, 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 please don't. No rambling, no complaints. No, only all good mood only. Yeah. Okay. Let's. Sorry, I
No
just don't want
questions.
to push you too much, but we have a few questions. I saw
Sure,
one
sure.
interesting from Cesar. They say that's interesting. Do you think the generalist approach has to do with the state of the technology evolves and lowering the barrier for entry?
That's interesting. I mean, I don't have an answer for that. I mean, I can talk from my experience, right? Like at least in Spain, when I was starting, I don't know how everyone that started doing CG, everyone started modeling. So that was like the entry point to
Mm-hmm.
CG. That's the first thing you learn, and then I guess like once you know the interface a little bit and modeling, then some people show more interest in animation or rigging, not that many, or lighting or rendering stuff like that. So I feel like in Spain, Spain had like a very um, yeah, like a lot of like generalists there. But I don't know, man. I don't have an answer like that about that. But I know that there are people that they say like I cannot choose. I really like modeling and lighting, or I really like animating and compositing. So they cannot choose. So they have, they can do. Maybe they don't animate like a Disney animator, but they don't need to because like they have other skill that these animators don't have. So it's a matter of like choosing, I guess. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I think that to get good at something, you need to expend a lot of hours, a lot of hard work, and obviously, you it's not like you are not isolated on the learning process. No, like you don't learn only this thing and you don't learn anything else. So, but it depends. I guess the position and the place. But I heard I'm listening to other podcasts, and I was also I don't know where I heard it was the. Do you know the collective podcast? This Ashthorpe podcast is really nice. It
Mm,
brings a
I don't.
lot
I
of
don't know.
like artists and directors and people like creative people. And I remember he talked about that in some point. I don't know in which episode he has like 200. I don't know, but it was saying like something like one of the reasons ones that's saying like it see the tendency now that before was everybody was a specialist, and now because technology is advancing and there is a lot of like things that are easier to do, so it's the tendency is it's see on his field that is not exactly our field, like it's more for
Uh-huh.
the generalist. The future is for generalists is what he said.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting. It could well be like that. Yeah.
but yeah, maybe this in a reply to Cesar like question, but yeah,
I
I
mean,
thought I found this
I
very interesting, the this kind of trends, or I don't know if it's trends, but like because technology is accessible, like you say like V-Ray,
yeah.
you had all these super crazy parameters things that you was commenting when you was doing like this
Mhm.
architectonic thing, and now it's like, man, you have like how many bounces or how many
Yeah, that's it.
how
I don't
many
know.
passes and less
Quality,
noise,
boom.
and yeah, that's
Well,
it.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, the thing is that like for the longest time, like for 7 years, I lived in a bubble, right? So the people that come to the studio, they are like specialists, like really good animators or really good riggers or really good modelers, or really good lighters or kind of like not really good. I say really good, but I don't mean really good. I mean like they know what they are doing, right? That's
Yeah.
something that I want to demystify. Like mediocre people also can work on big companies. I'm not talking about anyone in particular. I'm not talking about Disney, but like I don't think I'm that good in terms of like putting a lot of quality or being like an artist that you look at and say, oh my God, what he does is amazing. No, I mean, I work with people like that, but I also work with people that, they are good at working and they are good at delivering and they are good at communicating. And, like this is like using another simile, like another metaphor, is like a soccer team, like Barca, for example, they don't have 11 Messis. They don't have 11 guys that are always trying to score the goal. They have a team. And on a team, you have some people that run faster, and you have some people that are better at passing the ball, and you have some people that are better at directing other people, right? So to me, the way I see it in all the companies that I worked is like that. You have like a lot of different profiles. And yeah, some people are like not from this planet, and I am lucky enough to work with them every day. But the way I see myself is like, yeah, just like I just like double with this. I just like do my work like that, and I just like, I guess like I don't give a lot of trouble, and so I just like can keep working on this, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, people kind of like mystify, like, oh my god, this guy is working at Weta, or this guy is working at, yeah, but tomorrow you can be the one working there, because it's accessible. That's what I want to convey.
I
to
never
everyone.
worked with at Weta or on any of these big companies, but I do work with people that did work for that places. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they are
No,
like,
so
yeah, super humble,
yeah,
super
yeah, yeah,
normal.
yeah. No, and it's like it's what you said. It's like they are super humble, they are super pro, but it's not like I mean, it's hard worker people. It's not nothing like that anybody with goodwill cannot achieve.
Yeah, and like I always have like these specific people that I know and then I admire a lot, and they work a lot, but they have like these kind of like game changing ideas, and they just like they work and they do stuff, and then they make a team, and then they work all together, and it's yeah, anyone can work on these companies. And I was lucky enough to be hired 7 years ago, and maybe tomorrow I won't be there and someone else will be, and it's okay. It's the circle of life.
Yeah. Like Hakuna Matata.
Lion King TM.
Yeah. Like Sergi agree with like say the studios are looking back to generalist science, the tools and technology going into artistic approach. Yeah.
I mean, you see on forum, right? Like people like sculpting characters and then like doing all the look development, and sometimes they do some rigging, and I'm like, who are these people, man? Who are
Yeah,
these
I don't
people that
know.
become, oh my
People
god,
without
like,
family, that pretty sure with no kids.
hey, yeah, probably like that.
No, I'm just joking. That I know people they have kids and they pull out all these things. It's like why?
Yeah, with kids, when you have the time, you don't have the
Yeah.
strength, and when you have the strength, you don't have the time.
Or they have
But
ability to don't sleep or
yeah,
sleepless. That's
it's
that's
amazing.
that's a superpower. Yeah.
So more questions, Mikael?
Yeah. I don't have anything. Well, I have a ton, but I don't have like I guess we maybe should have the second part of this podcast. We are a little
Second part,
over.
another 1.5 hours.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we can do it
Yeah,
absolutely.
we can talk any other time, or I can show any other stuff when we need.
Yeah. Do you? I know we have a lot of. I don't want to cut, but I may have to do because I have well I hear my daughter downstairs, so
Yeah,
I
come on,
guess I have to
be a
go.
father to your daughter.
Yeah. But yeah. Do you want to show something? And I mean I know you're doing like other nice stuff on your spare time, like personal projects, passion projects. Like I know you have this radio control crazy stuff to that you can control characters on with your helicopters remote. It's
Yeah, helicopter remote. So this is just like something, like all of us, we do, we have the stuff that we do at work that we love, and then you do stuff at home, sometimes related to work, or sometimes it's not related to work at all. So I've been just like trying to learn Unity, because I really like kind of like that interactivity part, interactive part. I don't really play video games. I love the idea of video games. I don't have time to play video games, but I love to be able to be part of a story, right? And to interact with characters better than just like sitting on a sofa and watching a movie, right?
yeah. So
So I was interested in that.
yeah, I will post later all you share with me a bunch of links before the stream, so I will post it later on the description so that people can check it out some of your work like on the Vimeo and things. But
Oh, cool.
this is the character I was talking like the you use I mean you don't have camera, but it's like an helicopter like a radio control helicopter stuff like no you told me.
Yeah. This is a like an RC controller. Now it doesn't want to work. Let me restart. This is like like live things. So yeah, it's connected to a computer. I use this to fly my quadcopters and stuff. And this is just like a rig that school Animum just like gave me, and I just like implemented like this super cheap system that I was working on, and they use it on a presentation. So like to explain the students what rigging is, and they could just like take the remote, the controller, and just like move the head and move the eyes. And it's something really cheap and really simple, but people had a better understanding of what rigging is, playing with it. Even my kid, like I give him the remote at the controller, and then he loves playing
Yeah.
with it. So I'm like, okay, maybe there is something here, that I can do on the side. I don't know, like an installation. I don't know, man, something. But it's cool, like seeing people interacting with your stuff more than actually watching a video. And let me just restart this thing because somehow it doesn't want to work. And it's a shame because, okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Just like turn it on and off. Let's try again. Let's see.
Demo
No, I
effect.
think
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
demo. If you, but
demo.
do you have a? I mean, I guess you have a video on that.
Yes, I have. Let me just try once more really quick and see. Let's try. Yeah, that's a
CX. Yeah,
remote
I
talking.
hear a lady.
A lady talking like welcome to. Okay, let's see. Uh, nah, it doesn't want to work. Okay, anyway, so let
Yeah,
me just like.
don't worry.
Okay, now
Yeah.
it's now. Hey, now finally work.
Hey.
Yay. Yeah, so this is just like two joystick. Okay, now it doesn't want to work. This is amazing. So
Stop.
essentially, it's just like like uh,
Oh, don't
managing a
worry.
character in real time.
Yeah,
Like
that
it's
one is
another
the.
character like this, but yeah, this even
They has
is more
like
advanced
you
because
can
I'm
control
using the
the
yeah,
orientation with the balance of the. That's
I'm using
nice.
the rotation on the orientation on the phone to control the
It's the
rotation of the
phone
head.
itself. Okay, I see.
Yeah, so this is the
You have the phone attached to the antenna with a rubber band, or that's actually a pro.
yeah. What I'm attaching with the rubber band is the phone, so it doesn't fall.
That's
So I'm reading,
MacGyver, man.
yeah, so I'm reading the orientation of the phone, and that's I'm controlling the orientation of the head, and then just like firing is really really simple. And Unity is really nice for that type of stuff. You
Nice.
have already functions to read the values of a blend shape or read the value of an axis on a joystick and things like that. So it's really easy to connect. So if people are curious about this, I invite all of you, to just like take a look at Unity or Unreal because it's super cool and you can do like interactive stuff like pretty easily. I'd say like I don't know anything about C sharp, and then I could put together like some code to connect this stuff.
Oh,
Like
nice.
input, get axis, share mesh, get blend shape index, and then
Hey,
like
fun.
something like super
Ah,
cheap. If the axis value is this, then do this. It's super 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 easy.
nice.
And
Yeah, it's like a MIDI controller, no? Like kind of.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
So because like I like kind of like puppetry and I like to dabble with this stuff. I also did something else long time ago with an iPad. Oh, I don't want
that
this.
is.
Let's see. Yeah, this is like kind of like older.
Yeah, I remember this demo 7 years ago. No, yes, yesterday,
That,
man.
that is, yeah, 7 years ago. So this was like this program called Touch OSC for the iPad, and it's sending signals to the computer that are being interpreted through a couple of programs, and then just like plugged on 3ds Max because 3ds Max has like these motion capture controllers, and then you can capture this type
Nice.
of stuff. So the character looks like crap. It's super old. It was actually my
Oh,
first facial rig, so don't judge me, please.
I mean,
But
I did a bunch of facial rigs and still not doing with this super
yeah.
nice interface, man. That's is your first one, really?
No, like the I mean like the facial deformations, yeah, like that. It was kind of like a toy, like an idea
That's
to.
really nice.
So yeah, this was for the character was for a school, but I had the character laying around, and I decided to put this together to see if I could. But yeah, this is like again something super 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 simple. It looks more difficult than it is
But it's
to
super
set up.
nice. Maybe, yeah, this idea. I don't know why it's not progressing more like this kind of touch stuff to interaction. But
And then capturing stuff. Nah, just like small things. Trying to learn new things or trying to some ideas. I guess they don't go anywhere, but because I don't want them to go anywhere, I guess like but just like hey, put it there. Someone is
nice.
curious about it. Like some people have wrote me about these thing that I the other head that I was showing, and then just like we share ideas, we share some code, we share knowledge. So to me, at the end of the day, it's all about that. It's about sharing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and you have also these super nice mini tutorials, 1 minute ones that are super
Oh
cool.
yeah.
I'm waiting for the new one. I follow you on Twitter. You know, you have these rolling lips with the cluster. I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not there yet. No, because I was
It should
checking the
be.
list
Nope,
and it's
not,
not there. Damn it.
yeah, not there yet. It's just like, again, this is like the small things that I've been learning that I used, like all the time, and I'm like, hey, why not about sharing it? And maybe I don't need to make a 15-minute video about it, because that's, especially nowadays when we don't have a lot of time. I don't like to watch a 15-minute video when there is only 20 seconds of really content that
Yeah.
I'm going to use.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do things under a minute, whatever it
Yeah.
takes.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
nice.
very
People seem to
tough to
like
do
it,
it.
that's
The,
cool.
I mean, it's very tough to do it like this 1 minute thing. I try it. Trust me. I know. I know.
It's, it's very
It's
cheap, very improvised. I just like, I use this
no.
software.
I don't believe you. It's
It
very
is,
well prepared.
it is more, yeah, it's cheaper than you think.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you
because
that. And
for
this
me the
is,
cheaper is to make the 15 minutes uh, rambling thing, and then the people who is interested in the information just take this 15 minutes to get the 30 seconds worth of. Hey,
so this is the
hola.
program I use, yeah, like Epic Pen, I
Yeah,
just like, and I
yeah,
have a license of Camtasia. I just like draw on my desk and capture that,
yeah,
and then just like edit on Camtasia, like super, super, super cheap.
yeah. I
But
use the how it's called, a mischief. It has like a transparency thing. I learned that
oh, cool.
from Rafael Frapane, the Culture
Oh yeah,
Break
yeah.
fame, and he was using this and say, hey, look, that is nice, because you can put transparency, so you can use it like a whiteboard transparency
Oh,
for
that's
teaching,
cool.
and tutorials. It's really nice, and they have also a free version. So
I'll write that down. Mischief, cool.
mischief, it's from the Foundry actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
So yeah, this is something that I've been doing, when I have time. Again, like when you have free time, we're like, okay,
yeah,
do I keep improving my crappy modeling skills, or do I
yeah.
keep improving my crappy Unity skills, or do I keep putting like, like small tutorials out there that maybe, they make sense for people, and it seems that they do. So
Yeah,
that's cool,
yeah. For me, it's I was, before the stream, I was watching your on the wires for create brain shapes, the deformer.
Mhm.
I never use wires ever. I don't know how to use
Really?
it. No, I never touch it.
Shame on you. Shame on
Sorry, but
you.
look at me. I'm doing fine. But
But
I'm
you've
gonna
shown
check.
your
I'm gonna
mouse.
check.
You're a complete person.
Yeah, I'm gonna the nothing. I don't know how to say. Anyway, sorry. I really have to maybe to
Go.
push a little on
Okay.
the finish this
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah.
episode today, because I really have to do some things before my weekend ends, because I'm in Japan. I'm about to finish my weekend. You have Sunday all for you. I don't.
Yeah, we have to sleep now. Yeah, I
I'm in
mean,
the
I guess like
future.
if people is interested, like we can just like keep talking, or if someone
Yeah.
wants like has any question, just like send me a mail.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
social. I mean, it's everything. All the links are
Yeah.
down there. Just like contact me, send
And
me a mail to Iker.
Twitter. Yeah, Twitter is nice for these conversations also. Yeah.
Yeah, Iker.mozos@gmail.com.
Uh,
Send me a mail. We'll keep talking. I'll show
yeah.
you the studio if you are around. So if I have time, or I said that too early. But yeah, like everything, like I've
Yeah.
been in touch with people, and then we can arrange something. So
Yeah. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
thank you
And
for having me.
yeah,
And send
maybe
me
we
your
can do
stuff.
in the future, the second part, I hope.
Sure, I won't have anything to
Yeah,
talk
I
about.
have the feeling that we have left a lot of the stuff on the I don't know how to say, on the en el
En el
tintero.
tintero.
Yes.
Ink bottle.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
And
very
thank you
much,
the people
Miguel.
on the chat. Sorry if we missed some of the questions. See you in the next one. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.
Okay, 1 second and I need to put stop.
Oink.